Okay, I hope I'm audible to all students who are attending this lecture of international economics. We continue with our lectures on Ricardian model. Okay, formally, this is chapter 3 of the book I prefer to follow for my lectures on Ricardian model, which is Krugman and Melitz. International Economics by Krugman and Melitz. Okay. Now, all students can recall that in the previous lecture of Ricardian model, we were doing the concept of relative wages. Again, if all of you can recall, we had two economies, home and foreign, two goods, cheese, which is measured in pounds, and wine, which is measured in gallons. Okay. And in the previous lecture, we had looked at the concept of relative wage of a country. So we had learned in the previous lecture that relative wage of a country's workers is the amount they are paid per hour compared with the amount workers in the another country are paid per hour. And in the last lecture, we saw that the example we had taken in the last lecture, we saw that even though in absolute terms, foreign has less productivity as compared to home in the production of cheese and wine both. But since the foreign economy is paying a wage which is 1/3 of that of the home economy, the foreign economy is specializing in the production of wine. The home economy, on the other hand, is paying a wage 3 times that of the foreign, but also has a higher productivity in cheese as compared to foreign. So that makes the home economy specialize in the production of cheese. So we had done that this example in the previous lecture. Remember, we had taken ALC as 1 and ALW star as 3. Okay. And suppose both wine and cheese sell for $12. Okay. The relative wage is nothing but 3. That means as long as the relative price of cheese is equal to 1, 12 divided by 12 is equal to 1. The wage of the home workers will be 3 times that of the foreign workers. And clearly all students can see this is the opportunity cost of producing cheese at home. This is the opportunity cost of producing cheese at foreign. Okay. Clearly all students can see that ALC star is 6, but ALC is 1. That means in the home country, you require only 1 hour of labor to produce 1 pound of cheese. But in the foreign economy, you require 6 hours of labor just to produce 1 pound of cheese. So I can say home is 6 times as productive as foreign in cheese. On the other hand, if you compare the wine across both the economies, the home country requires 2 hours of labor to produce 1 gallon of wine. The foreign economy requires 3 hours of labor to produce the same gallon of wine. That means if you look at this in absolute terms, the home economy is 1.5 times as productive in wine production. So guys, in absolute terms, we had seen in the previous lecture that home is productive than foreign in both cheese and wine. You can clearly see that the relative wage is 3 times, and it lies between the relative productivities. You can clearly see that the relative wage W by W star, which is equal to 3, it lies between 1.5 and it lies between 6. It lies between 1.5 and 6, which are the relative productivities. You can clearly see because of its lower wage rate, foreign has the cost advantage in wine, even though it has lower productivity. If you look at this in productivity terms, even though the foreign economy has lower absolute productivity than home in the production of wine, why is foreign still specializing in production of wine? Because the wage in foreign is 1/3 of that of wine. Okay, so all this we had learned in the previous lecture. Now in this particular lecture, we look at some misconceptions or myths about comparative advantage. It's going to be a small lecture. We are just going to look at what are the myths we have or the misconceptions we have about comparative advantage. First of all students should be able to recall what is the definition of comparative advantage. Any country is said to have a comparative advantage in a given commodity if the opportunity cost of producing that commodity in terms of the other commodity is lower in that country as compared to the other country. And in our lectures so far, we have seen that the home economy has a comparative advantage in cheese production, and the foreign economy has a comparative advantage in wine production. So let's look at the first myth. The first myth is based on productivity and competitiveness. So it is often said that free trade is beneficial only if your country is strong enough to stand up for foreign competition. Now it's a myth, it's a misconception. That means in reality, you don't need to be strong enough to stand up for foreign competition. Why? Because when we talk about comparative advantage, we saw in the last lecture, and we have discussed it today also, that if you look at home and foreign, home has absolute advantage in production of both cheese and wine as compared to foreign. If you look at these equations, guys, you can clearly see home has an absolute advantage in production of both cheese and wine. But why is the foreign economy still producing wine, still specializing in wine production? Because the foreign economy has a comparative advantage. That means the myth which you can see on your screen, or the misconception, this misconception holds true in the case of absolute advantage, not comparative. So look at the explanation. In the above statement, the commentator who has made this myth has failed to understand that the gains from trade depend on comparative rather than absolute advantage. This statement will be absolutely true in case of absolute advantage, but it will not be true in the case of comparative advantage. That means if you have a comparative advantage in production of one commodity, then free trade is not going to hurt your economy. It's actually going to benefit your economy. Okay, so the competitive advantage, or I can say the comparative advantage of an industry, depends not only on its productivity relative to the foreign industry, but also on the domestic wage relative to the foreign wage rate, which we saw in the last lecture. When we talk about the concept of comparative advantage, all students can make this correction, guys. This is comparative. It's a typo in my lecture note. Please correct this typo. Instead of competitive, it is comparative. So when we talk about comparative advantage, it not only depends upon the productivity of the home economy relative to foreign, it also depends upon the domestic wage rate as compared to the foreign wage rate. So in the model which we have done in the last lecture, and which we have discussed even today, foreign is less efficient than home in the manufacture of wine. You can see this example which we had done last time. You can clearly see the foreign economy requires 3 hours of labor to produce 1 gallon of wine. The home economy requires only 2 hours of labor to produce a gallon of wine. In absolute terms, home is more productive than foreign in wine also. But still you can see that home is specializing in wine production. So clearly you can see, but it is at an even greater relative productivity disadvantage in cheese. When you look at the foreign economy has an absolute disadvantage in cheese also, in wine also, but the disadvantage in cheese is higher. The foreign economy requires 6 hours of labor to produce a pound of cheese. The home economy requires only 1 hour of labor to produce the same pound of cheese. Look at the level of absolute disadvantage. On the other hand, if you look at wine, foreign economy requires only 3 hours of labor to produce a gallon of wine. Home economy requires only 2 hours of labor to produce a gallon of wine. So clearly, guys, this gap is much higher than this gap. It means in relative terms, foreign economy is at a relatively low disadvantage as compared to home in production of wine. In production of cheese, the foreign economy is at an even higher disadvantage as compared to the home economy. So that means because of its overall low productivity, the foreign economy must pay lower wages than home, which we had seen in the last lecture. The wage of the foreign economy is 1/3 of the wage of the domestic economy, sufficiently lower than it ends up with the lower cost in wine production. So even though the foreign economy has a limitation in the form of lower absolute productivity in wine as compared to home, but since the foreign economy is paying a wage rate much lower than that of home, in terms of relative wage, the foreign economy is at an advantage of specializing in wine production as compared to the home economy. Okay, so this was myth 1, and we have looked at the explanation for it. The first myth was that those who believe in free trade, so the first misconception is that this free trade is going to benefit only if your country is strong enough to stand up for foreign competition. But the explanation is telling us that this particular misconception is fine for absolute advantage, but it might not work through for comparative advantage. Because when we talk about comparative advantage, not only do we compare the relative productivity of our economy with the foreign economy, we also compare the relative wage. That means the wage paid to the workers in our economy compared to the foreign economy. And if we combine the two, we can say from the previous lecture and from today's lecture as well, that even though the foreign economy in absolute terms has disadvantage in both cheese and wine production, but since the foreign economy is paying a wage rate much lower than that of home, it has a comparative advantage in the wine production. Okay, so this was the first myth. The second myth, called the pauper labor argument. So another misconception about foreign trade is that foreign competition is unfair and hurts other countries when it is based on low wages. Now, this is another misconception, that foreign competition is unfair. Why? Because it is going to hurt those countries when it is based on low wages. Now, any economy which is producing the same good at a lower cost, people are going to buy from that economy. So people who adhere to this belief argue that industries should not have to cope up with foreign industries that are less efficient but pay lower wages. So those economists or people who support this statement, they argue that the domestic industry should not have to cope up with foreign competition, given that foreign industries are much less efficient by paying lower wages. Now, just because the foreign economies are less efficient, they pay lower wages, it should not hurt our domestic industries. That is what the economists argue. But in the model which we have seen, home is more productive than foreign in both the industries. We just saw in the example today and in the last lecture as well that home is more productive than foreign in cheese and wine production both. And the foreign's lower cost of wine production is entirely due to its much lower wage. However, foreign's lower wage rate is irrelevant to the question of whether the home gains from trade. You can clearly see the home is anyways going to gain from trade. Why? Because even though the home is paying a higher wage, the productivity of the workers in producing cheese is much higher at home as compared to foreign. That means whether home is going to gain from trade or not does not depend on the lower wage rate at foreign. This is the important point to understand, guys. The important point I'm repeating again, that whether the home economy is going to gain from trade does not depend on the lower wage rate of foreign. The lower wage rate of foreign is going to only benefit the foreign economy, because when the foreign pays a lower wage rate, it has a comparative advantage in wine production. But the lower wage rate of foreign is not going to hurt the home economy, because even though the home economy is paying a higher wage rate than foreign, the productivity of the workers in cheese production is much higher in home as compared to foreign. You can see this in the example. In the home economy, it requires only 1 hour of labor to produce a pound of cheese. In the foreign economy, to produce the same pound of cheese, you require 6 hours of labor. That simply means that lower relative wages at foreign are not going to hurt the home economy. The home economy will still benefit from trade. So this is the argument against myth 2. So all that matters to the home is that it is cheaper in terms of its own labor. for home to produce cheese and trade it for wine than to produce wine itself. The home country will not at all care about the low relative wage at foreign. All what the home country is going to care about is that it has a comparative advantage in cheese production. It is going to specialize in cheese production and export it in the market in exchange for wine. Okay, so that was myth number 2, the pauper labor argument, which said that foreign competition is unfair. Why? Because it is hurting the domestic industries, because the foreign industries are less efficient and they pay lower wages. But we have seen in this paragraph that this is not the case. It's a misconception. Why? Because we have seen in the model in the last lecture and in this lecture as well, that even though the foreign economy has lower productivity in both cheese and wine as compared to home, the lower relative wage paid at foreign is not hurting the home economy. Why? Because the home economy is very happy to have a comparative advantage in cheese production, specialize in cheese, sell it in the world market in exchange for wine. The home economy does not care about the lower relative wage at foreign. Okay, and then we look at the last myth, after which we stop. Okay, so myth 3 is as follows: exploitation. Now, it's again a misconception that trade exploits a country and makes it worse off. Its workers receive much lower wages than the workers in other nations. So this is the third misconception, that when the economy opens up to trade, it is going to make the workers of that country worse off because of lower wages. So in the model, the foreign workers are paid much less than the home workers. All of us know that the wage at foreign is only 1/3 of the wage at home. But if the foreign refused to let itself be exploited by refusing to trade with home, the real wages would be even lower. Why? Because the purchasing power of a worker's hourly wage would fall from 1/3 to 1/6 of the pound of cheese. What is the whole paragraph telling you? The whole paragraph is telling you, even though the foreign workers are getting themselves exploited by, I'll not use the word exploited, but you can clearly see, even though the foreign workers are paid less wages, but suppose the foreign economy did not trade. Suppose the foreign economy did not trade with the home economy, then guys, it requires 6 hours of labor to produce 1 pound of cheese in the foreign economy. That means if the foreign economy continued to produce cheese instead of importing the cheese from home economy, if the foreign economy continued to produce cheese, then 1 hour of labor will produce only 1/6 pound of cheese. So the workers will be paid every hour. The workers will be paid only on the basis of 1/6 of the value. Now they are paid 1/3. Clearly, all of us know that 1/3 is more than 1/6. That means when the foreign economy is trading with the home economy, wages in the foreign economy are 1/3 of the wages in the home economy. But if the foreign economy does not trade with the home economy, then the wages in the foreign economy will be 1/6 in case of cheese, because it requires 6 hours of labor to produce 1 pound of cheese. So 1 hour of labor can only produce 1/6 pound of cheese. That means every hour of labor is only going to fetch you the value of 1/6 pound of cheese. But if you import cheese from the home economy, that means if you open up to trade, then your wage will only be 1/3. Now clearly 1/3 is more than 1/6. That means if the foreign economy does not trade, it becomes even more worse off. Because in the absence of trade, the purchasing power of the foreign economy falls from 1/3 to 1/6. So this is the line. By refusing to trade with the home, real wages would be even lower. The purchasing power of a worker's hourly wage would fall from 1/3 to 1/6 pound of cheese in the foreign economy. So the important point to understand here is that even though trade between home and the foreign economy causes the wage in the foreign economy to be lower than the home economy, but if they do not trade, the purchasing power in the foreign economy will even go down. which in turn is going to further exploit the workers in the foreign economy. So having trade and bearing lesser wages is better than not having trade and further causing your purchasing power to go down. So again, this explanation tells us that this is a misconception. So students, this is where I intend to stop. It was indeed a small lecture where the objective was to discuss with all students the misconceptions about trade or about comparative advantage. And we have looked at the explanations which tell us that how these myths actually do not hold true. Okay, so we are going to now in the next lecture look at the comparative advantage with the many good model. We have looked at the concept of comparative advantage with two goods, wine and cheese. But in the next lecture, we generalize the model and we look at the concept of comparative advantage with many goods. So this is where I stop. I hope all students have enjoyed this small lecture. Any doubt, you can unmute your mic and ask, or call up or mail me your doubts at divineschoolofeconomics@gmail.com. So this is where I stop in this lecture.